Thank you so much for listening to Urbanistica Podcast. I am Mustafa Sharif, an urban planner, and you're more than welcome to join my big journey of exploring the making of smarter and more livable cities. Please don't forget to follow Urbanistica on the different social media platforms, and also let's connect on LinkedIn. Big thanks to Urbanistica podcast partner AFRY. AFRY is an international engineering and design company providing sustainable solutions in the fields of energy, industry, and infrastructure. Are you ready for a new episode? Let's go for it. Thank you so much for listening to Urbanistica Podcast. Today we have a new story and we have an amazing storyteller. I have the pleasure to welcome you, Ludwig, to Urbanistica Podcast. Hello and welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me here.
How are you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, it's a sunny day in Solna where we're at, and summer's coming. So.
Yeah. Long time no see since the last time we moderate the urban design seminar.
Yeah.
A lot of projects you have now, busy with work.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, and different stuff going on for sure.
Yeah.
I guess we'll get into that a bit more, but I think you're maybe the one being more busy than me, though.
I'm really happy that we could arrange the time, and soon we're gonna dig into the topic. But let's start with you. You are our storyteller. How would you like to introduce yourself to our listener?
My name is Ludwig von Werder, and I work as an urban planner, or I'm at least educated to be an urban planner. From the beginning an engineer, and then with a master's degree in urban planning and design. But I mostly work within the field of sustainable mobility.
Yeah.
So traffic, basically.
Yeah. And tell us more like where you grew up. How was your childhood?
Oh, yeah. And that's it's not a very interesting answer because I'm from here. I remember when I studied, and during the master's degree, we had students from all over the world.
Yeah.
And people come from China or countries in South America. And people would be like, "Oh, and Ludwig, where are you from?" And I could just basically point to the other side of the street because that's where my elementary school was when I was a young kid. So I am from Stockholm, and I have I've been here more or less my entire life.
Yeah. And what made you decide to study urban planning and to become an urban planner?
That was actually quite a long, I hate when people say journey, but I don't know how to express it because it wasn't a straightforward choice, really. I had a very straightforward youth in the school system, at least.
Yeah.
So up until high school, I felt like, life is easy. Everything's just going to be smooth sailing from here, basically.
Yeah.
And then when I graduated from high school, there was this financial crisis, as it has been ever since, basically. But it was hard. I had a hard time finding a job. And that was like a real reality check. And I was pretty insecure about my purpose, basically.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was a bit of a rough time personally. And I had some time to evaluate different options and get inspired from people. And it took me maybe 5 or 6 years before I started studying to become an urban planner.
Okay.
And before that, I had given up so many of my childhood dreams. So the first one was maybe to become a rock star because I used to be a drummer. And the other one would be a journalist because I had a like a dream kind of vision of how that would be. And then an architect. So like everyone on this pod basically wants to become an architect or have wanted to become one at some point. But some sort of creativity was, I guess, what I wanted to work within. And then I had to study nature science. What's it called? Like maths and physics.
Yeah.
Because I had the idea that I wanted to become an engineer.
Okay.
Just maybe because it was a secure title or something.
Yeah.
Like I wanted stability, I guess. So I can become an engineer, but then I need to do all this maths and stuff before, and then
tough subjects.
Yeah, exactly. And then through a friend, and everything is just my entire path has been just shaped by friends and people around me, just giving advice. So that's how it works, I guess, for many people. But a very good friend at that time, she said, "But you should study this. This just fits into your interests perfectly." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, we'll look that up." And then I found that and felt like, "Yeah, this is it."
Finally,
like a combination between the engineering and the maths and the system thinking parts, but the more creative aspects too, and get the design thinking and all that.
Yeah.
So that's
amazing.
That's the way. Yeah, I had this one. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I had this one moment actually that I thought was very formative for me in my process in finding my purpose or my vision.
Yeah.
And when I was studying these courses in maths and physics, doing not really what I wanted to do, but still feeling I was in the right direction,
Yeah.
I was on the metro train, and I sat there and just contemplated for myself about the future and stuff like that. And I saw an ad, I think, in the train, and thought to myself, like, that's a good looking ad. The design is pretty nice.
Okay, yeah,
the font is good,
to look at.
Yeah. So that's good piece of a
like a
design.
poster or design.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But then I just went up a scale. So, but how does this train car feel like for me as a traveler?
Okay.
And then I was okay. So that would be maybe the compared to architecture, maybe that would be the design of the building.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you start like the system thing. Put together.
I guess I'm upscaling a bit. Like, where is the possibility to have the most influence of how people live their lives?
Yeah.
So the design poster would be like the first step.
The font, the smallest.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's level 1. And then I scaled up, and it was the design of the train car. And then I was thinking about, but where does this train go?
Yeah.
I was looking at the map, the system's map.
Yeah.
So that took me up a level, like, maybe this is urban planning, right?
Wow.
And then it just becomes wider and wider, and thinking about how different transport modes, how they act in society and for whom and all that. So that's
just like the larger scale.
Yeah, it just becomes bigger and bigger the more you work with it, I guess.
That moment you felt, okay, now you're into this thinking.
Yeah.
You made it now.
Yeah, that was such a reassuring moment, I guess. For being, since I was just more searching for quite some time.
Yeah. Well, just like the mic, I will put it like a bit like this. But it's, I don't know if you had the moment to go even like on a larger scale, like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, like go out of the planet now. Or you kept it to the Stockholm scale?
It's Stockholm scale, exactly. No, I still have a comfort zone, I guess.
So, recently you started to publish different videos or vlogging. By the way, first, congratulations for the baby.
Thanks.
And I saw you publishing videos on LinkedIn where you document your journey with your baby and experience the city together. Really good. We got a lot of insights of how you experience the city, your baby as well. So I love to ask you, how did you get the idea firstly?
It wasn't really my idea initially. So I really need to give my former colleague some credit here, because it was a colleague of ours named Golnas Miredari.
Yeah.
And she was the one who initiated the process, really.
Yeah. Shout out to Golnas.
Yes. And one of many shout outs, I assume, during this episode.
Of course.
But she, so the videos are about exploring the built environment and especially focusing on an accessibility point of view.
Yeah.
So the idea was to record, make films of me when I walk with the stroller, from a metro train, from the platform, and to a playground or a park or something. A place that a kind of place that I would normally visit when I was on paternal leave, which I was at the time.
Yeah.
So I had plenty of time to spend, and this work that we have as consultants, it can be pretty free. So Golnas too had the opportunity to do this kind of thing.
So your purpose was to to show the city from a new perspective, and maybe find out what are the elements that works and not works in the built environment.
Yeah, sort of. But there's so many themes that could be the motivator behind this kind of investigation.
Yeah.
But I think two main themes for me or for us was the first one being what I would call the city for all, or the right to the city, those kinds of expressions that we face a lot in our educational system and also in work. But so it's about understanding the right to the city, and certainly for those who are not able to drive cars or are included in the car-centric urban design or urban environment. So how good is access to urban amenities and services and functions when you have wheels?
Yeah.
So the stroller is like a tool to understand the accessibility.
Yeah.
And how it is for people with otherwise limited mobility or capacity to get around. So I think we investigated with the stroller, and that's that was the tool we had because I was on paternal leave, but it gives at least a hunch of how people move around in their daily lives that have that are wheel bound. So that's one thing, and I would say the other theme, if you don't have any follow-up questions.
No, you just tell me about the
Okay, so the other theme I would say is that, and this is a quote from another podcast I've heard, so I'm looking into my notes now so I say it correctly because I found it very neat. Infrastructure is the framework in which behaviors operate. Yeah, that's pretty nice.
That's true.
And so, for instance, a car trip that is often door to door, and very convenient and all, but whereas a trip with the public transport, it isn't really, unless you live on top of the station. You normally don't. So, public transport trips are of 90% of them and begin with walking. Yeah, and that makes sense. But 90% is quite a lot. So this transition between walking and the metro. That the transition is smooth and accessible, vital for so many people. Yeah, and we talk a lot about this with behavioral change and how to reach sustainability goals and everything. And I just think that the infrastructure is very important to assess.
Yeah, it's like one of the main aspects to change the behaviors. No?
It's the first one, I guess, and then we have other, as we spoke about, layers before. With the policies and the norms of society and legal aspects and all. But it's a very straightforward one to make a session of in a rather straightforward way.
But what I love is that you did these vlogs when it was winter and snow. Like usually people got lazy and they really didn't want to put extra energy in being outdoor, experiment, and so on. So this is what I love about your vlogs. They were not like during the summer, because we usually, when I see vlogs, people doing it during the summer when the weather is fine and so on. But what you show is like from the real challenge that we face is like when it's super difficult to experience the city. It's snowy, somewhere is dirty, somewhere is not accessible. So this is what I want to do a shout out to you and to Golnas, that you really put the energy to do it during the winter. You didn't wait to have a beautiful weather.
No, that's true. I guess we maybe skipped the worst days, many of those nuances are great to capture. But as so many other things in work and and careers go, it's much by chance. So I guess our plan was initially to be a lot quicker in recording these videos so that we would be finished with the first 5 in 5 weeks or something.
Yeah.
But it was more like 3 or 4 months. So winter was eventually coming, and we couldn't give it up then because we had already.
Yeah. So,
but that's true. It's many times I would like to add that none of these themes or what we explored or the analysis, it isn't really groundbreaking stuff. It's just it's like a reminder towards everyone to people working in the business, but also lay people who maybe aren't really thinking about these aspects of the built environment that much.
Yeah.
So with that, I would say having a pretty unpolished view of how the urban environment is experienced, that's necessary, or otherwise it's not. It doesn't say that much, really. On LinkedIn, for instance, we see videos of like bicycle riding in the Netherlands, and it's just so wow, it's
very
so great.
Polished.
And it's like, whoa, here I ride my bike to work, and it's just like a dream landscape.
It's heaven.
Yeah, and okay, good for you. But what to do with that? It's not really constructive or informative either. So, so we wanted to do some sort of infotainment. I assume is the word for it.
What tools did you use, like recording equipment?
Very simple stuff, really. Golnas would film me with her iPhone camera.
Yeah.
And with the time lapse, I think it's called time lapse mode.
When you speed the video.
Exactly. Fast forwarded. Just me walking. You would be walking a couple of steps behind me, and then when we reached the playground or the point of interest that we were going to, and we would record my daughter. She was exploring the environment too, just playing around or whatever. And then another step was that she recorded me like an interview.
Yeah.
Also with the phone. But almost all of that material was cut away because we had to make it a bit shorter.
Okay, yeah. Because like your videos are like 3 to 4 minutes, or
no, they're just 1 minute.
Yeah, you cut them to
Oh yeah. So the material, some of them I have material for 10 minutes or something.
Okay.
But I also got some tips from people at work who have been in film industry and so on.
Cool.
And people more up to date with like the TikTok patience of social media.
Yeah.
And they were like, you know, the TikTok videos where you get a recipe for how to cook something.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first frame, you're supposed to understand what this is about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So great tips like that.
Nice.
And so it's very condensed and with a voiceover instead of an interview. And
yeah.
Just experimenting a bit with the medium, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's new to me because I've never filmed anything before and never edited anything either. But we have access to the Adobe creative software at work, and there's this program called Premiere Pro.
Yes.
And if you're comfortable working in the other software, like InDesign or Illustrator or Photoshop, the process is a bit similar.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it wasn't that difficult to pick up either.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's really good. Really good. But maybe this is like brought you back to your journalism dreams, no?
Sure.
Like what information you want to send, images, and how do you put together content, or what do you think?
Yeah. There's an aspect of communication to this that is definitely similar to what I thought would be interesting with journalism. But it's about education too, and also one of the pros with social media is that there is at least the opportunity to have interactions with others, sharing. Oh yeah, this is how it looked for me when I was on this trip. La la la.
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't want to work in journalism now either, or any of my other potential career paths.
Yeah.
So, but sure.
Good for us. We are happy to have you as an urban planner. No. So tell me about the destinations. Like you want different destinations and you analyze them from different aspects. So like Tell us about details, what aspects, what is like made you feel good, and so on. Like share with us the experience.
Yeah. So there are 5 videos to begin with, and we purposefully chose them because they had different urban typologies. So one is in the central station area, and another one is in a detached building, detached houses area. What's it called? The suburb, yeah. And another one is in the more typical modernist 60s big building blocks, or what you call it. Yeah. So we wanted to see if there would be a difference between them in terms of accessibility, because I feel like there's a lot of preconceived notions about what areas are good in what ways. So many people would assume that a place where it's more, for instance, higher living costs, it would be more attractive in many ways. That maybe that also applies to accessibility or walkability.
Yeah,
but that's not. We don't know for sure. So that was one of the starting points, I guess.
Yeah.
And then out of convenience a bit, because I couldn't really travel that far with a small child, and you become very restless.
Yeah.
So we picked urban districts or city districts along the Red Line, which is where I live and where one of our offices is located.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I could go through them all, but
we can.
Or I have some general maybe findings, or
you can maybe. It's up to you. But what I want, like, tell us details so we like.
Exactly, I get it.
Yeah.
But, yeah. For anyone interested, they can be seen on LinkedIn. They can be found on LinkedIn, the videos.
Yeah, right? I can put the links in the description. So like all the 5.
Yeah, that's
to your post.
That'd be great. In the first one, there are links to the other 4. So this one is enough. But they all start at the metro station. Me walking to the elevator, and then walking from in the metro station area, navigating through different kinds of obstacles towards this park or playground. And the first episode is in Liljeholmen, which is a rather newly built area, and a train station or metro station with plenty of other transportation modes. So there are trams and buses and cars, of course, and walking lanes and bicycle lanes.
Yeah.
And even though it's newly built, and some things have really high standard, like the accessibility from the platform to the ticket hall, or what you would call it, that's perfect. But after that, it's just a mess, really. So you have to walk on the bus stop to cross another street, and then you don't know where to go. There are no signs, really.
So as soon as you get out of the metro station, the building, things get like not clear and accessible.
It's just a very confusing environment. So it's not readable, and there aren't any signs either, really.
Okay.
So this this place we're going to in that video, it's a pretty nice. What do you call it? Like a square, a plaza or square by the water, with restaurants and cafes. So you would imagine there's some sort of sign somewhere.
Of course, yeah.
But you have to walk across the trams and under a highway and across like a bicycle regional, also super lane.
Yeah.
Yeah, So very strange feeling from being there, and not smooth at all. Just very narrow. And I had to walk on the bicycle lanes with the stroller to find places where the it's called the curb, or depending on if you're. I've looked up this before this episode, so it depends on if you're an American listener. It's curb with C-U-R-B, and the British listeners, they have a K-E-R-B.
Okay.
Yeah. So when it's cut, or when it's lowered.
Yeah.
To have a smooth transition from the walkway to the roadway or the zebra crossing.
The high levels.
Exactly. Yeah. So those would be shared with the bicycle lane. So everything was just very confusing, and that's the the notion of the first episode, and that's a reoccurring theme, I guess. You have to share those really tight
bike lines.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
Path.
Yeah, so maybe there's some way to walk, but you have to share it with others, or a meeting there with someone else with a stroller or in a wheelchair is like impossible.
Yeah. So you use the bike line to walk with your baby stroller because this was like how the most accessible way to go to your destination.
Yeah, exactly.
And how was the reaction from the people biking?
No, but that's I guess no one cares because it's such a messy situation, so it's not really apparent. No.
Okay.
So it's more like everyone. It's more like an mobility anarchy. Yeah.
Okay. So they know that like it's fucked up. Okay, we will not comment on him or something like
so
this.
that's, but there are some confusing crossings with other cars and so on. They're just not. They're not good.
But like if you wanted to go to a specific place, and that's why you still with all these barriers, you walked that way. Yeah. So do you think if there was another parent wanted to do something and then they face these struggles, will they continue to the destination or say, no, I don't want to do this, I will go back home? Like they change their mind because just of the infrastructure.
Oh, that's a good question. I didn't really think about that before, but yeah, of course. I imagine if you're new to the place, it's also, I am, what would you say, not biased, but I know the place from before since I worked there. Yeah, I would probably, if I went to a new place, it's not an inviting environment. So I would scan the environment, look somewhere else and be like, yeah, that seems more convenient. Yeah, that's how it works, I guess, especially if you're exploring something for the first time.
Yeah. And I guess add to that the layer of like it's a winter time and snow, the layer of you having like a baby and you're already like I will not say stressed, but like
you can be for sure.
Yeah, but like you have something, you're not like so free-minded. You have something to think about. You're not alone. So like if we put this layer and the bad infrastructure, then it's going to be equal. Like, okay, I don't want to go there. I want to change my destination. Like, so you will not attract people.
Yeah.
Or this group of people.
Yeah, exactly. And with that line of thought, in the end, what it leads to is that people isolate themselves.
Yeah.
So if it's, I know I can go there with a stroller or with other wheels but it's too much work.
Yeah.
So I'd rather not do it.
Exactly.
And then this ties into the city for all and inclusive for, and just having the physical barriers becoming mental barriers, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you had a car.
I do have a car. Yeah.
You have a car. Will it be easier to go to the same destination with your baby?
Ooh, some of them, definitely.
If we talk about this particular one.
This particular one. I'm thinking about parking at that spot might be difficult to find the car,
but from A to B is smooth.
It's smoother.
Okay, cool.
Definitely. Yeah, that's no.
Yeah. So this was the case of Liljeholm. Do you have another interesting place?
The next stop was T-Centralen, which is our central station and the biggest one, and also a whole lot of different transportation modes at the same place. And I think one of the main findings is that it's a complicated system of elevators at the station. And of course it is at a big station with lots of platforms and different levels and all, but that's inconvenient for anyone who are dependent on the elevators. So you would be boarding the platform on one level and then take one elevator up a level and then walk on that platform and take another elevator and come to the ticket hall, but then you're not on an accessible level either. So we would take another elevator to get out and just become to be outside
to the city. Yeah.
So that can take a lot of time, and also at a central station like that, there are always a lot of people there. Yeah. So there is big probability that there are queues or lines, or
of course,
plenty of time waiting.
Yeah.
So stuff take more time. So when you add that to what you said before about stress, or that you have to, that you're responsible for someone else, and that's also one of the inconveniences for sure.
Yeah. So the elevator is not like one line.
No.
Like it's just next level.
They have a map on the
levels
on the platform.
Elevator system.
Like, I think they have like 20 elevators or something. And they all go from different levels. So if we say that the bottom level is like 0, but it's not called 0, but let's call it 0. Yeah. Maybe that one goes from 0 to 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And then another one goes from 2 to 3 and 4.
Okay.
And one goes from 5 to 1 someplace. So it's not like one
it's like
massive like pipe or shaft.
And you stay in the same elevator. It's like the game, Mario game. What do you call it? Donkey Kong. Like it's different stairs until you reach up.
Yeah.
So this is like a struggle. The elevator system.
Yeah, and you find workarounds after a while. So not when recording, obviously, but if I would go there without recording, I would change trains.
Yeah.
Somewhere else. So I would enter the Centralen area with the green line instead of red line, because then I know I would skip one level. And even though that meant waiting for another train someplace, like the station before, I knew it would save me maybe not that much time, but a lot of stress, because it's infuriating. So waiting for an elevator, which is then when it finally comes, it's full of people.
Do people make space for you to pass? And how is it when you enter the elevator? Like,
no, it's maybe I'm not sure about if the reason for it. Maybe it's a cultural thing, but we don't share these tight spaces very well.
Okay.
So, for instance, if I'm with a friend and we are going someplace in the metro system, or we have to take an elevator, we can definitely fit 2 or 3 strollers at least.
Whoa.
In one elevator.
Yeah.
But people don't seem too fond of that. So,
okay.
And it's difficult if you come like running with your stroller, like, can I fit here? It's not. Yeah, maybe sometimes it is, but oftentimes it feels like it's not a really socially acceptable behavior.
Yeah, like not to get closer.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
much. Yeah, keep the distance.
Yeah, invade someone's personal space. And then these elevators, they often don't smell that good, for instance. Yeah. So it's a not very pleasant environment, and maybe people just want to be alone.
And how is it, like, let's say in the station when people are rushing to get the metro? Do they make space for you to pass, or no? You need like really to struggle again just to make it from A. Okay.
Definitely, but maybe it depends on time of day and also station. Many other factors. No, it's not that generally like, oh, make way, here comes a stroller.
Yeah.
But I remember that from before having a child too. I would be very irritated at people going with the strollers, especially during peak
hours.
Like, why did you need to now? And now I understand. Like, okay.
Now you're paying back.
Yeah, exactly. People have a life too.
Also, this is like a city for all, not only for you.
Yeah, exactly.
For you,
for me.
Yeah, because I remember I did the podcast with it was during COVID time, and the person also with a baby stroller, and he was so happy because he told me during the COVID we're distance, so he could walk and free and without getting disturbed. I wanted like to see if is this a kind of back or no. And it's interesting. So this is the central station atmosphere.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And if we go ahead, there was another one called Mariatorget, which is in the southern parts of the inner city, and an old city district. So buildings from the late 19th century and onwards, I would say.
Yeah.
With these closed urban city blocks, traditional type of typology.
Yeah.
Urban typology. And here we were going to a small playground at a square too, the Mariatorget Square. And at this stop, the elevator wasn't working from the platform.
Oh.
Even though we had prepared, of course, and there's an app from the public transport agency.
Yeah.
Where you can plan your trips and pay and all that.
Yeah.
And there was no information in it, and there usually is.
They put notification like the elevator's not working.
Yeah, there
or
should be like a banner, like heads up, the elevator on this.
Yeah.
But there was none.
Okay.
And there was big construction work going on. They were changing the elevator or something.
Yeah.
So it should have been a notification for sure. So that meant we had to take the other elevator in the other end of the platform.
Okay.
Because you're not. I would perhaps if I wasn't on camera, but you're not allowed to take the stroller on the escalator. I guess that's for
it's for safety, right? Yeah. I was thinking like why? Yeah, of course, makes sense. Like
I guess in a situation of emergency, it's not like good to be stuck in the middle with someone.
Yeah, that's true.
Big obstacle for people running. Yeah, but so we had to go to the other end of the platform, and that meant waiting there at the elevator because other people had experienced the same thing. And then just what's that called? It was just a lot longer walk, really, from the other end.
Okay.
And we went like a back alley towards the square. And we noticed there was a lot of stuff and clutter on the sidewalk. So people would use the walkway for storage of just crap. So building materials or...
Okay.
Yeah, it's not that rare, but if you compare it to the roadway, no one would put like a big bag
in
of
the middle
building
of the
material in the middle of the...
Where the car passes.
Yeah, exactly. So that's just a difference, and one of the things that hit us when we were recording this, and it's also nothing new, but it's very clear that how the car infrastructure is prioritized.
Stronger.
Yes, exactly, in so many ways, and not only in the infrastructure and how it's built and how it's funded and all that, but also how people behave within it.
How do you respect or disrespect?
Exactly. Yeah, so it's acceptable. People find it acceptable that you have to walk with a stroller into the driver's lane to pass some random person's building material or whatever clutter it may be.
Yeah, so it's okay to block the pathway, the walkway, but not to block the
No, of course
road.
not. That's unthinkable, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Who put their table or chair on the
How
street?
dare you?
Yeah, exactly. But we do actually have storage room for private cars also in the streets. So maybe it would be okay in a parking lot to store clutter or whatever.
Okay,
garbage.
this is interesting. I never thought about it. It's like how much we disrespect the walk path.
I think, and people, I'm not an expert on this, but there's this concept of motonormativity or car brain. You're familiar with them? Maybe you've had some guest who really is an expert. So I'm not going to guess.
So you can tell us more,
But it's about how we, for instance, how we... what we think about someone polluting, for instance.
Yeah.
So a person polluting the air, for instance, outside of a kindergarten with a car running, what's it called when you're just standing still but the car's still on? And there's just a lot of pollutants from the car during that time. But that's, people don't really mind. But if we would place a person there, the same spot, just outside, and he's smoking cigarettes for the entire time, the same time, then people would be really concerned. So we measure these externalities, or what to call them, differently. And this is just one evidence of it, I guess. The respect the different transportation modes get in the public sphere or the room.
Yeah. But now I will be like the devil, what do you call it? Advocate, and I tell you, okay, but maybe like the walk path could be multifunctional, and then we can use it like to put stuff or to do some kind of put chairs, tables, and I can get from this aspect. What is your reaction about this? I can put my material 2 days until I remove it. It's multifunctional space.
Yeah, of course. I think every space in a city should be multifunctional, because that's the only sustainable way when it comes to on the ongoing urbanization.
Yeah.
And we so much more greenery and so on. So that's I think that's the right way of thinking about it. But there still has to be there have to be like minimum requirements, and they need to cater for the people that have less mobility capacity than others. So, and also I don't think there necessarily is conflict between what we imagine as the good parts of multifunctionality. So from the other way around, when we walked back from this Mariatorget, we took another street because we wanted to try some other kind of environment and follow the main street in the area.
Yeah.
And on that street there are shops and cafes and restaurants, and there are bike racks and a furniture zone. I'm not sure how to translate that, but
like outdoor furniture.
Yeah, exactly. That's public, and also trees and but it was actually more accessible on that side, even though there were plenty of other functions that we were in. We were sharing it with. So I don't think there's necessarily a conflict. It's more about being aware. During all the steps.
As far as you don't block the others and make it inaccessible, then multifunctional.
And maybe a space which has been put more focus into making a good one. Maybe people have been more concerned about these accessibility aspects during the design process compared to the back streets.
So this is Mariatorget.
And then we went to the suburbs. So the different types, one of them being this area called Bredäng, which I said before consisted of these 1960s apartment blocks. And as in many areas built during this modernist time of urban planning, typical is that all the transportation modes have been separated from each other. So there are these bridges and also tunnels everywhere. So that's another way of planning for safe and perceivedly safe walkways. And this was during the winter, and it was a lot of snow there. Even though it hadn't really snowed in a couple of days, so there could have been time to do something about it.
To remove it.
Exactly. But it hadn't been really removed apart from walked down, really, or stamped down. But the good part of it was that there are no conflicts really with other transportation modes. So it's very clear. You follow this. You follow this walkway, and that's it, because you have no other option. Really.
Because everything is separated.
Exactly. So it's like, you're going south. This is the way. So only one option. But no cars. So maybe that there are some good and bad aspects of that, and I guess in newly built areas they try to combine the qualities from different stylistic ideologies. But when there's only one walkway, it becomes a very, very fragile and vulnerable walking network. Because you can't take, like on Mariatorget, I'll just take another way back. I'll take the better way back. This one's maybe good.
You have different options.
Exactly. Here are no alternatives. So, we went to the playground. It was terrible. There was snow everywhere. Very narrow walkway, and maybe it was a walk and a bicycle lane. I'm not sure what it was. And we met people there, and we couldn't. It was very tight all the way. When we came to the playground, it was just snow everywhere. So no one had done any maintenance with the play things, so it wasn't really working as it should.
It was not functioning.
Exactly. So I'm not sure which is best, but there are good and bad aspects of all types. But the vulnerability is a big issue, and if you are to design that way with just one separated lane, it needs to be very good. It needs to be the standards need to be really high.
Because like you're giving one option, and imagine this option is shitty. So
exactly.
Now what kind of city you want to create? Or...
I think also, and that was something that we identified at several of these metro stations that there's the responsibility of maintenance.
Yeah.
Maybe it's on different actors.
Okay.
So the metro station, maybe the maintenance is from the public transportation agency, and then it's municipal walkway, and maybe we are encountering like a private property, or so these transitions, maybe sometimes there were just like some sort of gray zone about who did and who didn't.
Yeah, because
maintenance.
They only work on their property. Like the
yeah.
traffic agency fixed their station, and that's it. This is my job.
I'm not entirely sure, but it seems that way.
Yeah,
because you could just now this walking lane isn't functioning anymore.
Yeah.
So just end it there. Okay.
But it's so sad because like every time during the design phase and so on, architects being ambitious with the design and so on, and then they got usually but cut this off because it's gonna cost a lot when we do the maintenance. And then when it's time and see it's not being maintained, I just feel sad. No?
Yeah.
A lot of discussion when we had the design phase, and now like reality, you're not even paying attention. And
but then maybe there's some other issues, so they are
could
organizational rather than design issues.
No, it's like in this. No, I don't think it's design. Like
no,
it's more than like
exactly. So you design with a correct values, maybe.
Yeah.
For instance, and then in reality, it's just who does it? Is it this office at the municipality or the other region?
So this particular trip was a bit like sad because like the playground was not really functional because of the snow, the road there. That was not like a successful trip.
No, it wasn't. But it could have been in the summer, or if there was no snow.
Yeah.
It would have been just nice. Oh, cool. No cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think? Is it good with the separated walk path? This is, like this question, it's like the one of the main question you ask an urban planner.
Oh, yes. The contested.
There are like some fundamental. What do you think? Like there's like what do you think about the shared space, about separated? Like there are. So tell me, is separating the traffic is good or bad?
I think there's just so many aspects that play into whether it's good or bad. Okay. So I can't really give a short answer, but also different individuals have they prefer different types of design. But there is this one image that I actually brought, but this is a podcast, so no one can see it. But it's a visual image of a shared walking and bicycle lane. And we have many of those in suburbs, for instance, in Sweden. And you walk there and you bike there, and you have the wheelchairs and the strollers. Everyone is on the same space, and it becomes messy. You don't know which side of the walkway you're on.
Okay.
Am I supposed to walk on the right side? And then no, because the left side is where you walk if you are walking along a roadway. So that's confusing. And then if you compare it to a river, a water river, you wouldn't just put everyone in the same spot. So imagine like a small river, a canal or something. And the same way of designing would be to have like motorboats, swimmers, people doing fishing,
Now I got your point. Yeah.
In the same area. And that's just, these guys have different needs.
No.
Yeah. So you can't really have them at the same place. That's just something wrong. And with this thing with shared space, we talk about quite a lot. And in many of the projects I work with as a traffic planner, people tend to say, how about shared space here? Yeah. But then it's always like a solution to some other kind of problem. So we can't afford to build a good walkway, or we don't have room, or because we need to give the cars so much room. We can't live up to the standards about how wide a sidewalk should be. Can we make it a shared space?
So it's a kind of like putting all the problems or dirt under the carpet of shared space and cover it.
Yeah, that's the thing. For
this
sure.
Is interesting.
So with that in mind, I think shared space can be really powerful too. Yeah. But depends on where, and there are plenty of characteristics that need to be fulfilled for a shared space to be functional for the slower people on it. Yeah.
Because shared space, like now, is like kind of symbol of our very modern design and cities for people. When you feel you're prioritized, and like that's a symbol for very well thought urban design and traffic.
But we imagine a central urban core with walkable streets and.
But this is not the case, really.
No, not all places have those the ability to fill streets with that many pedestrians, for instance. So then it just becomes a car street with no sidewalks. So I think there are just other factors playing into whether it's good or bad with separated traffic. And depends on who you ask. I've read some studies on separated bike lanes, for instance. And people who are accustomed to riding bikes in cities, they would maybe prefer to be driving in the driveway because they have more freedom, or they can ride their bikes faster. But someone who isn't that comfortable riding a bike would much more likely prefer a separated biking lane. So I have no proper answer. But there are definitely different ways of solving problems concerning like safety and perceived safety of pedestrians in this case, and they need to be adjusted to the situation. That's it. And keeping in mind that we are focusing on the humans here. We design for people.
Exactly.
So this is also one of the perspectives that we wanted to assess a bit or look into. As I said before, there could be a lot of preconceived notions about what urban typology is the best. I think this is it, that people tend to come up with the solution before they identify the problem. So the shared space, for instance, would be a solution. Is it a problem that is solved with shared space, or is it something else that we you see?
It's complicated a bit.
Yeah, of course.
But we can solve it with basic elements. Right?
Yeah, but I feel like from my experience, even though maybe I have the good solution for making something accessible, or to distribute space fairly, or it's not how it ends up. So in the process, there are so many different interests and actors and a lot of money and cool stuff. So it doesn't really turn out the way it could be either.
So this is the case of the suburb. So you went to 4 different, and you have the last one, right?
Yes, exactly. And this one is called Mälarhöjden.
Okay.
And it's actually one. It's next to Bredäng, but it's completely different.
Okay.
So this is with the single family houses. And we are again walking from the metro station towards a playground. And here the sidewalks, they are incredibly narrow. And also during the winter, what we do in these suburbs is that we only remove snow from one side. So normally there would be a side where cars are parked along the sidewalk, and that side wouldn't be maintained, just the other one. So there was like a 1 to 1.5 meter wide sidewalk, and that's it. Only on one side of the street.
Okay.
And poorly maintained too. So again, this was a network, a walking network, which was very vulnerable to and not connected that well, because it would skip side. Now we are having parked cars on this side of the street, so now I have to walk over to the other one. And
it's like jumping.
Yeah, exactly. So that doesn't really make for a accessible way of walking to the park. That was bad. I just realized that I sound so very, very negative about all these.
No, because like my next question is about, or are you done with this?
Well, I have another comment, and it is about what we store and the respect towards the different transportation modes, as you mentioned before. And here, even though the sidewalk is so narrow, this is where we fit the street lighting. So that's another 20 centimeters every
taken.
Doesn't make any sense how space is allocated, and it's just not distributed fairly, I think.
So the first thing to sacrifice is the sidewalk, but not the cars or parking,
or that in an area where every single family house has a separate garden, maybe there could be
right.
There is space.
No, I understand that, like, this is what you experience, and because my next question is about how can we fix it, like how do we as urban planners and designers, what should we think about when we design and when we plan and design cities, like to make it more child friendly?
I think it's about just this thing with remembering who is it for. And that the infrastructure needs to be built for its purpose all the time. And the purpose would be to increase accessibility for people who are in need of increased accessibility, really. I guess there are a couple of aspects that I don't work with in my job, but that are about involving different stakeholders, and this is up your alley more. So that's one part of it, but just design-wise, make sure, for instance, that maintenance is at least possible. You mentioned this already, but on some places it just isn't. So nothing can be done, really. And these narrow dropped curbs or curb cuts, that's a big problem. I don't really understand why they need to be so narrow. When you walk in like in the newly built Liljeholmen area, or in the central city district where the sidewalks are really wide, it's still the dropped curbs, this area it's still so narrow. So, and it doesn't make any sense. Why don't just make it wider or share it more?
Just open it up, right? Like,
but maybe there are, or they need to be both for different needs. For someone with that have like a stick, blind sticks, they need something to.
That's true. Like
so
to
there
navigate.
But still, there's some. the priorities could be different, I think. So that's it, basically. And then another thing that really bothers me, I'm not sure if this really answers your question, but cars, they're getting bigger and bigger. And they are especially higher and higher. So the fronts are getting higher. We see many of the trucks, the typical American, big ones. And that means that they have worse vision.
To the street level.
Exactly. So the blind zones are getting bigger. And there's just something wrong here. And it's not about the design, but maybe there are other instruments that can be used. Like, how do we tax different vehicles, for instance? This is also about how the space is shared between different needs. So my daughter, she's 2 years old now, and she speaks quite a lot, and she mimics everything.
Okay.
And as they do, that's how they learn. But she says when she sees a car, when we walk someplace, she says, "Akta bilen, akta bilen, akta bilen," and that's mind the car, or watch out for the car. I just find there's something so wrong there. that we learn the kids to watch out for the cars.
Yeah.
But the cars are designed to not even being able to see the kids. That has to stop.
Exactly. No, it's again back to this that we see car roads. I remember I had one talk with a professor, and we talked about cars and so on. And he told me, like, before the church was like, you cannot touch the building of the church and so on. Now it's like the car roads or the cars, like, do everything you want in the city, but don't touch the cars and so on. And just to comment the design of the cars, like, now I start to see like cars start to look like more as a tank, like a very big, huge. And I see the driver, we are not a kind of the same level. Like, I need to look very, very up until I have a kind of eye contact so I can pass. So the kids, like, forget, they don't see. In some cars, they don't see the kids passing in the front.
No, exactly,
so it's also maybe, I don't know, are these cars made for city or maybe countryside?
Yeah.
It's also like raising up this question, how this like car design. And good luck with talking about self-driving cars in the city and all this topic.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah. So do you have more like solutions that you thought about when you were like walking in these different areas?
No, not really. I think there are solutions, and we have people working in my unit here at AFRY, and they are experts on this, and I'm not really. I'm more of a generalist, actually.
Yeah.
So I don't have the solutions. No, but people do have them.
Yeah.
It's just about a matter of prioritizing.
Do you think when in these different areas, if the designers involved, let's say parents, when they were sketching or planning, it would look much better as a result, and you will have a different experience? I mean, more like involving the community.
To some extent, but as I said in the beginning of this episode, that this isn't really anything new. And so many people have had already some experience of having been in a wheelchair, or having had a relative in a wheelchair, or having had a stroller for kids or siblings, or so. Sure. Maybe that's a way of highlighting these perspectives, but it shouldn't really be necessary, I think. It's just something else. Maybe, sure, it's more explicit if someone can tell you, hey, I have this disability now. Think about this. Yeah, sure. But did you see what I mean? It's, do we need that really?
So how do we solve, I mean, how do we tackle this problem, like, in order to make more, let's say, child-friendly cities? What should we do? I mean, you, as you say, these problems are not something new on the table. We have them in many years. We have the knowledge, I guess. There are a lot of theories, handbooks to tell us like what is accessible, what is not. We have a community to ask, but still we are kind of like failing in some parts. So how can we just stop failing?
That's an incredibly good question. I don't have
it's like
an answer for. It's something about having this awareness about needs of other people. Always.
Yeah.
So planning in different scales, whether it is design or if it's about working with different stakeholders and developing visions for a strategy for a city or a region.
Yeah.
This has to be on each level, this kind of thinking, and not just about strollers, of course, but this thing with accessibility or the right to the city and how the infrastructure shapes opportunities for people. So I think it shouldn't be that hard to unite in the business, that these are values that are fundamental for so many of us. I think you wouldn't work with urban planning or transportation if you didn't want to make cities better or societies better places to live or with more and it's about democratic representation and it's about design and all these. So if we could somehow maybe it's working within projects, uniting in projects at early stages, like, so I advocate for these specific characteristics when it comes to the design part, and it's because of this vision I have about society. Do we all agree on this vision? Okay, maybe something like that. I don't know. That's how I benchmark my work with myself, at least.
Okay, cool.
But
no, I think this could be like the key element, as you mentioned in the beginning of your story. Like you start to think about the font, the graphic design, the metro, and scale it up. The same thing here. Okay, I mean, it's not enough writing in the vision plan for the city that we're gonna have a city for people, but actually, when you come down to different scales, follow up this goal. Like, okay, how are we dealing with this in a policy level? Are we dealing this in the design and then maintenance? Like actively advocate for these questions, not just like, okay, because when it comes down, it disappears. Like all these sustainable and cities for people, green cities.
It loses the meaning.
So this could be like some key action to advocate actively.
Yes, that's a challenge in general in our business, that there's so many good investigations leading to policy documents, and then no one has time or energy. Maybe there's another way of internal communication needed. Maybe it could be assisted with new technology somehow. I don't know, but we need to like TikTok-ize our policy documents.
I understand. Yeah, because like usually it's like 200 pages or who has time to?
And that leads to you only read your own, the ones that affect your specific task. So if I work with traffic, for instance, when there's a new development in Stockholm municipality, I know my policy documents. But I wouldn't bother looking into
green aspect or
exactly.
social.
No, exactly.
Interesting.
Maybe colleagues of mine would, but I just speaking for myself.
And what skills should we learn as planners?
I think it's a lot about communication, but also finding your own core values, so you know what you're aiming for. Because I think it becomes easier to stand up for your own or for these values when other interests compete. Like funding, for instance. Okay, but maybe that's it. If you know what your vision is. Then it's you can't compromise the same way. I have myself.
Like a personal.
So I have the vision is to have a society or cities without car dependency, so that you aren't in need of a personal car to reach all these like services and functions that you need to have a good life, basically. And then I have this. The next level then is the mission. So my role in this,
as a Ludwig.
Yes, as a Ludwig, my role is to lead people and projects in this transition towards sustainable mobility. So I have that. So I can benchmark, as I said before, against this vision and mission all the time. So this project, is this leading to that? And no, it isn't. Can I do something? No, maybe I can't in this instance, but I can learn from someone with certain skills in this group of people, and then I can take them or mimic them, copy them, and use them when I myself advocate for these sustainability aspects in some other project.
So this is your boundary line, and this is how you measure the other projects and so on. If it's aligned with what you value or not. And I guess, did it happen that like you were part of a project that, of course, not aligning with what you believe in?
That happens all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, but
and how do you look at this? Like, do you say I'm a bad person?
No.
Or I'm not person, I'm a bad urban planner.
I'm a bad urban planner.
Like, I'm not contributing to my mission and not fulfilling.
No, but then I'm trying to find something in them.
At least something.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm inspired by someone. Okay, you're performing this role. Like, if there's a at least some of our projects are very, very big urban development projects.
Huge.
So then my role is like, I'm just an ant, basically.
You're like a part of this big, huge project.
Huge machinery. Yeah. So then when I joined the process, or the project, it's been an ongoing process for 10 years, maybe. You know, so I don't really have room for
change.
Changing. But then there are, of course, things to pick up everywhere. And no, I just feel like it's nice to have, because then I can interpret my gut feeling towards something. Because sometimes you just work with stuff and it feels maybe it's not stimulating, but sometimes it's just wrong. It's like, why is this wrong?
Because
why am I not enjoying this task? I thought I liked this very thing that I do, but the setting, is it? And then does it align with the vision and the mission? No, it doesn't. Okay, then that's also when that's assuring. Okay, so it's just this project. The next one I'll form myself. I'll create my own project. Okay, I want to work more in research projects where I can really make a difference, for instance. So it's about finding. It's like a compass.
Yeah, exactly. It's a compass that guide you toward like making the carbon independent lifestyle or daily life. But it's interesting because for me, I have also. Tell me.
And that's a part of the city for all concept. But since I work mostly in urban mobility,
then this
like
is your
the mobility,
focus.
Yeah. But the main thing is the justice aspect of urban planning.
Because there are other planners contributing this to this big vision or dream or mission. Like from your side, it's mobility. Like from my side, for me, like my mission is like to create these spaces in the city where children can feel safe, walk, and move without the need of their like parents. Of course, there are some ages they need their parents to guide them. But as a child, you can freely be there without being afraid, and also without the need of paying in order to be or to enjoy life. Like just like also a kind of city for. So from my side, I contribute with this child perspective. You're contributing to this mobility. But here comes like a tricky question for you. Let's say I'm an urban planner and I want to find my mission in this making cities for people. And I have no idea how to do that. So what is your like advice? How do I start to create my mission and my values and so on?
I believe it's a individual process. Some people just always seem to have a strong vision.
Born with a vision.
You meet them already in elementary school. I want to be a doctor. I want to save kids. I want to, and for some like me, maybe are more slow starters. They have some like of wanting to make something meaningful. Wanting to make a difference. Okay, so I'm going to spend this much time working in my life. Can it be good? Or at least not bad for society. So I think you have to at least have the interest in making something good out of your life
of course,
start. And I'm just going to speak from my own experiences then, but I'm not sure it's possible to generalize.
It's different, but you're our storyteller.
So I also had I always had this gut feeling about something is wrong. this doesn't feel right.
Okay.
But I was never that good at making concise statements, which is maybe apparent from this podcast. Like, for instance, I'm terrible with numbers. So some people would just give the stats and blah, blah, blah. I'm more of a thinker, where I reflect upon things. And I feel them. But I have been evaluating my work in a big, this is where the engineer part comes in a big table, like a matrix.
Okay.
Where I have rows for each project I work in. And then different, is it columns?
Columns.
Yeah. With headlines or headers such as, what did I learn in the project? What did I contribute in the project?
Yeah.
And then what feedback did I get from others? That's the most important one.
Yeah.
And then I have also recently added, how does this tie into the vision and the mission? Yeah. But before I had the vision and the mission, I already had this pretty structured way of assessing my work.
Yeah.
And that was to see how I developed.
Okay.
And to make it structured.
Yeah.
So it's not just that I work and then I listen to 10 hours of podcasts a month.
And that's it.
Yeah. But to see, like, okay, what's the next
step? The progress.
The progress. Yes, that's the word. Exactly. So I already had that. And when I could read after working a year or so, I could see, okay, I didn't enjoy this project. I did enjoy this. Why? Okay. This. How did I contribute? Where? And I could sort of see a pattern. And then I had the opportunity to see a coach via work. That I meet him once every 3 or 4 weeks. And
amazing.
He aided me with the coaching style. Just the final touch of creating vision. So now I have that, and that's locked in.
Amazing.
It's super comfortable to have something locked in.
Yeah. So you mapped what you did and how you enjoyed it or not, or what you felt, feedback you got. And then based on that mapping, like the data, you created or formulated like the mission that makes you feel good, makes you contribute, makes you enjoy the project, and like do a positive impact.
Sort of, yeah.
Cool.
So, yeah, but especially having it written down, and for me in a structured way, because I have a messy mind, I think, so I need a structured...
Put the things together.
So then I can actually read it and in a way that makes sense, because if it's in my head, it's like, oh, that didn't feel so good. I wonder why. Was it my fault? Other things happening in there.
And it's important that your values aligns with the value of the studio or the company you work at, right? Otherwise, it's gonna be like terrible.
Yeah, sure.
Until some like.
But as you said before, with sustainability in policy documents, it's the same with companies, right? So yeah, we both work at this huge consultancy firm, and we have the Making Future and all that, and that can be interpreted differently. But just sure, I agree with these words.
Yeah,
all the companies have these words,
of course. Too. Then you need to fit it to your mission and projects.
Yeah, exactly. But what I'm saying is, since every company talk about being
so it's
sustainable,
like same.
Yeah, it's like, okay, yeah, you are too, but are you really? You can't really know from the like, company's brand, toolbox communication stuff. So it's something else on individual level, the team you work with, or my closest bosses, or people around me. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's more important, I think.
Yeah, that actions back up the words.
Exactly, and maybe that also gives more individual freedom to express yourself or form projects that you think are in line with your mission and also the big company.
Yeah. And before moving to the next section of this episode, the main reason, like there are a lot of reasons that you're here, apart from being like a great urban planner as well, is like you were so brave to put the content, to to film, to show your face, to talk, and so on. Many of people I meet, they have so many ideas that could easily be implemented as a content or as sharing data or no, and so on. But they're like afraid. So like, what is your advice to people with big ideas or small ideas or an idea, but they are not really like want to step out of comfort zone and put things online? Because you were not doing like, this is first time doing this vlog or kind of a vlog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say this is again where I want to mention Golnas, because she's very inspiring in this way, more a doer person.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I learned from her not to overthink things, I guess. And so that's it. That's the first step. But also, if you don't enjoy doing these things, then you shouldn't. So, maybe there are other ways of communicating those great ideas.
Yeah.
Maybe it's about sharing them with someone who will communicate them.
Yes.
Yeah. But so it's not something you force. But I always enjoyed being on stage when I played in the band when I was younger, for instance. So I don't mind being
in the front of a camera.
On the front of a camera, even though I'm very, very nervous ahead of it. But I see it as a very good occasion for getting feedback too.
Yeah.
So if I imagine that I want to become a better motivator and a better speaker and better at communication for different reasons, and to be in those occasions more in my life. And then this is such a great way to assess. Okay, how do I speak? How do I look in camera? How's my posture? Everything like that. How do I look? And work on it. And it's the same with this episode. I won't listen to it immediately, but maybe a year later or so.
Exactly.
And then I'll find, it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
But what I did find out, which is that I've noticed, at least from a personal point of view, that I don't really care that much about how I look. So when I come into such a thing, I would be very nervous about, like, oh no, my thinning hair. Will it how apparent will it be for the audience? And maybe I'm mumbling a bit, or I have this like, I should have had a drier mouth, stuff like that. But when I worked with editing the material, I would listen to myself a lot. And what stands out isn't really the way it is delivered, even though it's an important part, but the main thing still is the content.
Yes, exactly.
And I think that's very important in an age of AI and all that. And so those are tools that are great for many occasions, sure, but just the content. And so I felt a bit more confident. Like, okay, this makes sense. I'm not as I said, I'm more of a generalist than the experts that I work with, but I do know quite a lot. And it helps. So
that's nice. Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, people won't really focus on the superficial stuff as much as you do yourself when you start producing something, or when you consider sharing something that's a bit personal, or that's it.
So don't overthink.
Don't overthink. Trust your skills, and don't be too hard on yourself with how you look and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. First, like again, Golnaz, she like a real doer, and she told me also like about this kind of ideas, doing short videos, and I'm happy that you made it together, which is great.
Yeah. So she quit just to explain why she isn't sitting in this chair instead of me. So she changed jobs when I was on my paternal leave. So I came back and I expected her to do all the editing, and then she left me with it like, here you go, Ludwig. Make it work, basically.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
Now, but hopefully we work together again somehow on project or movie making or and so on. But it's a good point that you mentioned about you don't need to be in the front of the camera. find your like media platform or way of delivering message, maybe words like you can write, or video or a podcast, or there are so many different, or maybe reach out to somebody who could share your message. But like if you have something, don't just hide it. It's always good to share so we learn from each other. And this could be part of making series for people, like who knows who can you inspire and impact and so on.
Exactly. There's always someone with a big enough ego that wants to deliver someone else's wise thoughts.
Always.
So that's not a problem to find.
Yeah, exactly. If you're like, this is the like worst case scenario. So what is next for you, Ludwig? Are you going to start a new series of vlog, or do something more? What is in your mind?
Something else. So that's been done now. Stroller. Visit films, and I wouldn't add that much new to it if we did other urban type or city districts.
Okay.
I actually recorded on my way here.
Yeah.
I bought like this thing that you hold your cell phone in when you ride a bike.
Yeah.
You can
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So you usually have it for the GPS or something.
Yes.
But I just
like
tilted
a stand. You put your phone.
A stand. That's the word. So I just tilted the stand so I can record. So it's like a very simple.
Yeah.
You could use like a GoPro thing or a super serious camera too, but that kind of works.
Yeah.
So I want to when I commute with my bike.
Yes.
Normally. That's my transportation mode of choice. And from where I live to here, it's like 10 kilometers ride. And going through all kinds of
barriers.
Yeah. And then, so that's something I want to do. Also, I'm now familiar with the editing software. So I felt like it's a low-hanging fruit. It's not that much of a recording, and then
the process.
Yeah, exactly. And so I want to do that. And there's so much knowledge about biking infrastructure in my working group too. And we have this classification index that has been developed, with which you can assess how good the infrastructure is from different aspects.
Okay.
So I'm thinking of using that, and then we mentioned AI before, and as I saw you have been playing around with this Photoshop beta generate
images.
Yes, thing. So I've actually taken photos of sections, street sections, and generated new stuff. So that's nothing new either. We see it all the time, but this is
your perspective and input.
My perspective, and also some information about what to think of when designing bicycle lanes.
Cool.
So it's the theme is still active mobility, which is walking and bicycling.
Yeah.
And it's about accessibility, but it's different. And so it's not possible, I think, to copy paste a concept that has already been done, because now, I know it. We all know it. It's not that interesting anymore. So something else. Lots of tools available.
Yeah.
But I want to do more. And in my role here, I have the opportunity to spend time on it, and that's a luxury. So why not?
Cool.
Is it work? I'm not sure, but it's fun. Yeah.
I mean, it's like same thing with the podcast. Like it's some part of it like do it at work, but some big part of it like on my own time as a hobby, and it's like rewarding for me, for our community. So if you're enjoying it and it's not like affecting your life or somehow family or social, so why not do it, share it with the world, and you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So more content are coming.
Yeah.
Cool.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So moving to the next and the last section of this episode, it's more about you. And what motivates you to do what you do?
This has to, I have to come back to the vision and mission thing. And because being able to assess everything from this mission about leading projects and people in this transition towards sustainable mobility instead of the car dependency and more car centered.
Yeah,
that's it. That's it. Yeah. Not that it per se motivates me, but achieving milestones that I can see relate to accomplishing the mission. That's a great motivator.
Yeah.
So that can be just learning new stuff. Okay, this is valuable for me. This. So it could be reading a book about something else, project management or something that I'm not really trained in. Okay, it's very important for reaching the mission. So that's a motivation all the time. Or just learning other stuff, listening to podcasts or reading just random articles on Reddit about stuff about cars, for instance, or something else. It can be just understanding how different pieces belong together and where are the gaps and what needs to be worked with. And so I think just this thing about incrementally just adding like a library of knowledge. That's a great motivator.
Amazing.
And then I guess people, working with nice people and having feedback, and
that's good.
Yeah, never struggled really with motivation.
Yeah, that's great.
I know some people will. Maybe I did when I did stuff that weren't that fun.
Yeah.
But now I feel like this is important. I enjoy it. It matches my skills. Then it's nothing that I actively think about.
Yeah, it's just like natural happening. Okay, cool. And if you like to be, or if you get the chance to be another creator, not being Ludwig, you can be like anything, but not this human being. What would you like to be?
There's so many things to choose. I'm not Ludwig. I'm not a human being. So I'm something else, like an animal or an object. Or
exactly, yeah.
I'm going with the character.
Okay.
I'm seeing a lot of children's TV shows at home now. And one of them being Moomin. You familiar with Moomin? Moomin.
Yeah.
Yeah. This Swedish show. Yeah. And there's a character there called Snufkin.
Snufkin. Okay.
Aren't you familiar with it?
Not really.
Okay.
Not with the Snufkin.
This makes it more difficult because I thought it would be like, yes, Snufkin.
Okay.
That's so you, Ludwig. No, Snufkin is a guy. He smokes a pipe.
Yeah.
He has a hat.
Yeah.
Do you remember him now?
Yes.
Green hat. Yeah. So when I was a kid and watched the Moomin show, I always thought, yes, Snufkin, he's the coolest in the Moomin Valley. And I think that's pretty common that people think he's the cool Moomin Valley character. But now when I see it again, I still think he's the best of them.
Yeah.
And there is something about him. He's a very wise character. And he people come to him for advice. But he's also very childish and playful. And his age is very hard to determine as a viewer.
Yeah.
You don't really know if he's a grown-up or a child, or if he's an old person. Yeah. So yeah, he's got this silent authority.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So you feel this could be you? Yeah. You want to?
Yeah, exactly. If when I think about leadership, for instance.
Yeah.
I'm not a very dominant kind of person, really. So maybe I wouldn't picture myself as a leader. But when I work with people that are much smarter than me, and I see how they lead, then it's obvious that it's not maybe about being the most dominant person in the room. It's something else.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of wisdom that he has, but also playfulness, that's reminiscent with how I want to lead.
Yeah.
Have fun, be serious. Have fun, be serious. Yeah.
Like wise and fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
That's cool, right?
Yeah, very cool. And what are your hobbies?
I already mentioned that I had been doing music.
Yeah.
Played drums.
You still?
No, not really, unfortunately, but I listen to quite a lot of music.
Okay.
Like exploring new stuff. So that's a hobby or interest. And then I'm not sure if it's we'll get maybe into other aspects of this, but if I say work, that's terrible as a hobby, I think. But it's one of my main interests.
So you enjoy work as a hobby?
No, I don't, but I spend quite a lot of my spare time reading stuff that are
work related.
Yeah, or
urban planning.
Yeah. So
I mean, why not?
So it's not a hobby, but it's one of my main. Okay, but the last one then, it's football.
Oh,
I watch plenty of football.
You do?
Yeah.
Cool. I didn't know that.
No, I know. I'm not very football.
Yeah, I don't see you.
No, I know.
So okay, which team are you supporting in Sweden and now?
No, there's a team in the English Premier League called Arsenal Football Club. And I've been following them on a distance, like obsessively. So sometimes I need to have breaks, focus on other stuff because it just eats me up. So I watch all the games.
Whoa!
I study the formations and the tactics aspect.
Also,
yeah, that's what I find most interesting. So there's so many facets of the football business that are interesting. So I'm thinking if I wasn't working with this and I was in two parallel universes, I'm a musician for sure, and in another one I'm a football coach. And in that universe, I probably wanted to have a professional playing career, but then realized when I was young that I wasn't gifted enough, or I had some minor injury that I could say, oh no, this knee messed up my career. But I still was a great student of the game, as they say. Yeah. So I read quite a bit on like tactics and how it has evolved since the invention of football in the 1800s. And it reminds of when we study design and culture and fashion and everything, that everything has this swinging. The trends go back and forth. So it's really attacking football and then the structured defensive football, and how these and what happens now is like a mashup of different kinds of styles. So we could do a football special episode sometime.
We can do that. But now it's not going good because Manchester City is taking over everything, kind of.
That's it.
But then they have a Pep Guardiola who is like genius, maybe.
Yeah, and endless funds. That's it. Money decides. Yeah. But there are so many interesting aspects of it. Like, for one thing being the tactics, and then the individuals, the different skills of these individuals, how to communicate with them, and they all have different needs. Sometimes you hear a manager say, oh, he's that kind of player that just needs a hug. That's so interesting, I think.
Right.
Because it just implies that different communication styles are necessary with different players, maybe players, families and agents and so on. And then we have the board of or the owners of the team. And external communication at these press conferences. It's very, very interesting. And in some ways close to the role as a planner, because you can be the project leader, and we have all these interests and different actors speaking different languages, as you would say.
With different needs.
Exactly. And you need to translate, okay, but this designer says this and this cost